Samsung's first ever trifold gadget may only be available in 2 countries, according to previously uncovered model numbers, and the US, UK or Australia aren't covered. The phone, which might be dubbed Galaxy G Fold, Samsung's triple foldable, under the codename Q7M, is listed in the GSM Association database with just 2 model numbers, SM-F9680 and SM-F9680. For reference, the N in a Samsung codename signifies that version of the gadget is meant for its native market of Korea, whereas the 0 corresponds to the Chinese market. This would mean that the Galaxy G Fold would only debut in those 2 countries. This wouldn't be unheard of, since the Galaxy Z Fold Special Edition was also exclusively sold in China and Korea. Interestingly, the listing also provides us some clue of when Samsung may release the gadget. The manufacturers normally upload their phones to the database 6 to 7 months before their introduction. This would mean that the trifoldable might debut somewhere around October. So, what is the purpose for the seemingly restricted release? The most probable culprit probably has more to do with how many of the phones are already being made. We've heard speculations that Samsung is planning a very limited manufacturing run for the phones, which would go a long way to explaining this modest release. While we here in the UK and the US may not see the Samsung G Fold, we do have some sense of how enormous the screen might be. We have seen leaked ideas that show an unfilled display of either 10.5 or 12.4 inches. Other than that, we haven't heard much about the hardware, although we would anticipate that the phone would debut with the Snapdragon 8 Elite to remain in step with the Galaxy S25 series. For the time being, there is still a lot we don't know about the Galaxy G Fold, but knowing that the phone would be restricted in its availability will definitely be disappointing news for many. While interested people might check at the newly introduced Huawei Mate X-T, which is already on sale worldwide, its astounding price could be a turn-off. Alternatively, we have a summary of some of the top foldable phones that could offer what you're searching for instead. Rumors regarding the Samsung Galaxy G Fold have yet to unveil the foldable phone in full. But it seems probable that 2025 will be the year we see Samsung introduce its first triple folding phone. Unfortunately, Samsung won't be the first to sell such a handset, as the Huawei Mate X-T Ultimate design got the accolade in 2024. But with Huawei restricted by its lack of Google applications and limited release territories, Samsung might effectively deliver the first triple foldable that most would-be consumers throughout the globe would contemplate purchasing. Usually, we see Samsung's new foldables arrive every summer, so we may conceivably see the G Fold, or whatever it ends up being named, in just a few months. With that in mind, we're compiling up everything the rumors we've heard so far regarding this triple folding phone. So go on to find out more about the cutting-edge Galaxy G Fold. There are Samsung patents going back at least as far as 2023 for triple folding phones, but patents don't often convert to real products. Fortunately, debate about the Galaxy G Fold doesn't stop with patents. While we believe we would see the Samsung triple foldable initially arrive in 2024, spoiler, we did not. The rumor mill now suggests that the phone will be arriving in 2025, with that projection coming from various sources. It's only been in the last year that we've heard that the smartphone may be branded Galaxy G Fold, rather than the Z moniker that pertains to Samsung's existing folding phones, showing work is being made in marketing the phone as well as the underlying technology. We have no notion what the price of the G Fold may be. However, we'd assume a price in excess of $2,500 when factoring for the price of the $1,900 Galaxy Z Fold 6, and then adding on additional. The Huawei Mate X-T cost the equivalent of $2,800, so it's likely Samsung might charge much more. As for where you may get this phone, there's terrible news from the tipsters. The Galaxy G Fold might perhaps only be accessible in Korea and China, and even then just a tiny quantity will be created. This might make the G Fold exceedingly tough to get a hold of in the US, UK or Australia, perhaps forcing users there to wait for a second-gen device that would ideally have a broader, more numerous release. For what's it worth, the next Galaxy Z Fold 7 and Galaxy Z Flip 7 have been touted to come out in July. There's no sign that a Galaxy G Fold would be a part of any Galaxy Unpacked event unveiling those 2 smartphones, but it would be something to keep an eye on. There's a huge vacuum in our information when it comes to the exact technical specifications of the Galaxy G Fold, but there are still a few morsels to go off of. Firstly, the G Fold will supposedly be an inward-folding gadget, which means there should still be a separate cover screen on the opposite side of the device to the primary flexible display. An outward-folding device, like as the Huawei Mate X-T, doesn't have a distinct cover screen, but rather utilizes part of the folding display as the front screen when folded. As for dimensions, the G Fold might measure roughly 10 inches completely open, with a cover screen of 6.49 inches. That's on pace with Huawei's phone, and would fit with the benchmark established by the 6.3-inch outer display and 7.6-inch inner display sizes of the Z Fold 6. Annoyingly, both of these panels on the G Fold may lack pen capability owing to Samsung not adding the essential digitizer layer in the display. It's an unusual choice when you consider Samsung's Z Fold devices have supported S Pens for years. But as a first-gen gadget, maybe the firm wants to get the fundamentals of the G Fold perfect before adding further difficulties and expenditures. Camera details are currently a mystery, but we'd assume a similar layout to that rumored for the Galaxy Z Fold 7, with a 200 megapixels main camera, 12 megapixels ultra-wide camera, and 10 megapixels 3x telephoto camera on the back, and then a 12 megapixels front camera in a punch-hole notch on the cover display and a 4 megapixels under-display camera on the main display. It's comparable with the processor and storage specifications. There's nothing to go awful from the rumor mill, but it's probable Samsung will employ a Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy, as we saw on the Galaxy S25 series earlier in 2025, and 12 gigs RAM, and at least 256 gigs of storage. Battery capacity is challenging to determine considering the odd form factor we're talking about. The Mate X-T's battery is 5,600 mAh, but the Galaxy Z Fold 6 has a 4,400 mAh capacity. So with an additional panel of space to place a battery in, ideally Samsung can cram in a few more milliamp hours to counteract the higher power drain of the bigger display. Charging is presumably a known spec, however, with a G Fold purportedly employing 25-watt charging like Samsung's previous foldables. It would be amazing if Samsung opted with their quicker 45-watt charging option instead, however. Triple foldables are still a new form of smartphone, as we witnessed at NWC 2025 earlier this year. But Samsung was at the head of the initial foldable phone wave, and it appears like the business will be a dominating force again as we transition from one-hinged phones to two-hinged ones. We'd want to know more about this Galaxy G Fold smartphone in advance of its reported introduction this year, and maybe the Samsung tipsters out there will oblige when they can. But for now, we're kind of just glad knowing that Samsung is working on this type of phone. There's no pressure for the business to deliver this phone, so if Samsung can introduce a handset that's polished and bug-free out of the gate like Huawei, and unlike its initial Galaxy Fold, then we're willing to wait a little longer. Within the hallowed corridors of the rumor mill, there's controversy about when, precisely, the Samsung Galaxy Tri-Fold phone will appear. A claim from Korean news site ET News indicates we'll be receiving an official announcement for the Samsung Galaxy Tri-Fold via the upcoming Samsung Galaxy Unpacked, which we'd anticipate to see somewhere in mid to late 2025. If this proves out to be genuine, we might see the Galaxy Tri-Fold revealed with the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 and Galaxy Z Flip 7. However, as we previously reported, a more recent tip-off claims the Galaxy Tri-Fold won't appear until later in the year, albeit the tipster supplied no context for this assertion. In any event, it's impossible to determine when the Tri-Fold will appear with such an obvious absence of official information and speculations pointing in both ways. If and when a Samsung Galaxy Tri-Fold phone does emerge, it's sure to rocket into a slot on our rankings of the best Samsung phones and the best foldable phones. We'll have the latest developments via our dedicated Samsung Phones coverage. Samsung usually organizes a Galaxy Unpacked at some time over the summer, and it's here that we anticipate to see the next generation of Galaxy Z foldables. We can't predict what the precise date may be right now, as it tends to shift over any given year. But should this claim prove correct, then the Tri-Fold Galaxy G Fold might be on sale by the end of August. Sadly, Samsung has replicated another Z Fold SE feature that's sure to be a lot less popular. ET News' sources suggest that Samsung will not be incorporating a digitizer layer, which would imply the G Fold won't support the S Pen pen. No doubt this was done to shave off a few additional millimeters of thickness, given the trifold design will have to be substantially thicker than a single hinge folding. Potentially, this gives a look into one of Samsung's upcoming multitasking capabilities, which will need reworking to make the most of a bigger canvas than the Z Fold series presently affords. The panel exhibited may possibly support Samsung's first mass-produced trifold too, considering its closeness to a speculated release date. The Flex G's general design is unlikely to reach it beyond the concept stage, however, given it lacks either rear-facing cameras or any cover display to speak of. Let us know what you're expecting to see from a Galaxy trifold phone in the comments below. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more tech news. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.